This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted, as always, to be joined by the president of the WBC, Mr. Mauricio Sulaiman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Rob. I'm trying to grow the good Rob beard.
I think you've got a while to go before you catch me up, my friend.
Yeah, I'll shave on Monday. I was just trying to give it a try, but no good. I look like
I'm used to seeing you clean shaven. I think this is the first time. But anyway, what have you been up to since the last time I spoke to you? Boxing has returned.
Boxing has returned. There have been 3 different cards in Las Vegas. And now tomorrow, Saturday, there will be fights in Mexico under a television studio setting, like a TV program. And I think the UK and Japan will open up in July. So things start to shaping up, start to getting excitement in the boxing world, and that's very, very good for everyone.
Now, I believe next week we're going to see World Championship Boxing return for the first time. The WBA's regular title will be at stake for Andrew Maloney next week against Joshua Franco. When can we expect to see WBC titles being contested?
There's some. I would believe in August there could be some title fights. We've had communications from all over the world, and we are assessing every single weight category independently, just to see where the champion is from, if there's a mandatory situation, where the mandatory contender is, how they've been training, and every case is being conducted separately. We're having all flexibility, understanding of the so many difficulties that this lockdown has brought to everyone involved in boxing, especially the fighters who may not have been able to train at the high level that is expected with sparring, with a camp. So we are addressing and assessing every situation separately.
One of the fights that has been mooted as potentially returning would be Vasyl Lomachenko, obviously franchise champion with the WBC. His bout with Teofimo Lopez is rumoured to be potentially returning to Las Vegas in September. What could you tell me about that from the WBC?
Yeah, that's what is being talked about. We have not received any official documentation, but that's one of the big fights. That fight was creating a great excitement when it was announced, and we expect it to happen as they both have announced that they're ready to get it on and do it as soon as it is possible doable.
Now, the last time we spoke, Mauricio, we spoke about the clean boxing program and the return of drug testing in the sport. Recently, I saw the announcement of the latest episode of WBC Talks, where you had Dr. Margaret Goodman as well as David Benavidez. For those people who didn't see it, I advise you obviously to go and watch it, but why don't you give people a little bit of an insight into the role of Margaret Goodman and what you were speaking about with David Benavidez?
Dr. Goodman, she's the president of Vada, and she has been the driving force behind the clean boxing program. We met years ago and discussed the scope of a program that for many would seem to be impossible to do, and it's been a reality. It's been a great program that we pride for, and that's one of our top priorities. We did stop for a couple of months the testing because it was dangerous for the collecting officers and more dangerous for the fighters and their families to take someone from outside when it was a lockdown. So we resumed testing, and we have done several in the UK, in Europe, in United States, in Mexico, and she has been a tremendous asset for the sport. She's had a determination for the clean boxing, for the safety of boxers, and Benavidez was just sensational to have him in the program. He's a living example of the virtues of this program. He was 19 years old. He captured the world championship, the dream of any fighter, becomes WBC champion, makes a title defense. With that comes fame, glory, money, temptations, and he fell into a wrong road. So a unannounced random test found him with cocaine, and we took immediate actions, which eventually led for him to completely change his wrong momentary life that had him confused. He moved away from where he was. He had all types of support in terms of rehabilitation, psychologically, addictions, additional testing. And now he's back. He's the WBC champion, and he talks about it with no shame, but with a great authority, moral authority to other fighters. So he's a great example, and that's a perfect example of the clean boxing program and the intentions and the motives that we have for spending so much money, time, and effort into something.
And Margaret Goodman, as you mentioned, is somebody who holds a lot of esteem and is somebody who is viewed as you correctly pointed out, somebody who brings a lot to the sport with regards to care of fighters and obviously anti-doping. Is Margaret concerned about that period of time where through no fault of the WBC or the clean boxing program or Vada themselves, testing had to be brought back? Did she have any concerns over what the potential ramifications of that would be?
I'm not sure. We talked about it. We understood we had to do it. There's few that, or some that did not approve that the WBC announced it publicly. But now that's gone, and now we are focusing in the new things. And new things are coming. For example, we can test for COVID-19 at the same time we do the drug testing. That's a great service that is being provided right now. And we're looking into different ways of testing to make the process more economically sensitive, so we can test more fighters and to have a different avenues. So it's very exciting times for this program.
With regards to the clean boxing program and anti-doping in boxing, obviously being a boxing channel, boxing fan, sometimes a cause of confusion for some fans is the varying different degrees of testing and some testing processes. Even within Vada, you have the clean boxing program, but then there is an extra option where you can pay for additional testing. Then, of course, there is the 365 days a year testing, which is essentially what I want to talk to you about. What fighters are currently enrolled in 365 a year Vada?
I'm not sure. We will have to ask Dr. Goodman specifically. As you mentioned, there's levels or components of the program. We have the unannounced random testing from the clean boxing program of the WBC, which is a system that monthly names come up and they get tested. The promoters who contract fights, so they can do before the fight a series of tests leading up to a fight, and then individuals who are into that voluntary program, and also the fighters who have had a positive when we do the announcement of the results of the results management. All of them have a period where they are sort of in a program that they will be tested for 6 months or a year. So, like Alejandra Jimenez, we just announced, so she will have a whole year where she will have additional testing, and that all depends. But if you wish, I can give you a list of all those who are in the 360 year-round testing.
That would be fantastic. If you could do that, that would be great. Moving away from all things Vada testing and clean boxing program, I caught up with Eddie Hearn a couple of days ago to discuss all things AJ Fury, Fury Whyte, Fury Wilder 3, and the heavyweight merry-go-round, as we all like to get on from time to time. First question, obviously this week we were greeted, or maybe not greeted is probably not the right word, with news that Dillian Whyte has taken legal action against the WBC. Now, I understand, being a legal case, that there are certain things and certain parameters that you are not able to go into, but what can you tell me from the WBC's perspective with regards to that legal action from Dillian Whyte?
Unfortunately, I have no comment. I cannot comment on this case at this moment for obvious reasons. I truly regret. I never go around anything. Every topic is to be discussed, but unfortunately, this is something that I cannot comment at this time.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'd like to point out for people who are watching this that you have, as you say, you have always taken questions and answered and been as transparent as possible with Boxing Social, so understandable. And for this one, you can get your pass. With regards to the rest of the interview, I'm going to try it. Forgive me if certain questions kind of overlap, and feel free to say what you like with regards to them. I appreciate there may be an overlap with regards to the WBC and Dillian Whyte. Eddie Hearn said to me that he believes that there is a possibility that Wilder Fury 3 does not happen this year. Have you had any indication from Deontay Wilder, who is of course the ex-WBC champion, made 10 defences of the belt, that could potentially be the case?
No, what I know is that the fight is being discussed and it's taking place, but I don't have any dates or any specific information. The WBC position is Tyson Fury to do that title defense, the commitment that he has on a contract, which is the third fight with Deontay Wilder, and then the WBC's position is the next is the mandatory title defense.
As I understand it from conversations that I've had on camera and in interviews with people, that there was a deadline for that fight to take place, for the third fight to take place. But I think even Tyson Fury said himself in an interview that there had to be room for scope given coronavirus and given COVID-19, affecting the boxing schedule. Is that what we're seeing here with them thrashing out this deal?
I don't know, but anyone who does not understand that the world stopped for 4, 5, 6 months, we don't know still what's going to happen. There's the coronavirus and it keeps spreading and there's a lot of uncertainty. The WBC position is absolutely firm with regards to understanding that this has affected everyone. Every fighter, every champion, every challenger, every promoter. We will have all flexibility on all and common sense to deal with every single case of every single weight category.
Now, following the announcement of Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, or following the announcement that a financial deal, beg your pardon, had been struck, not the same as an announcement of an official fight, as I'm sure you're very aware. One of the kind of things that came out after that was yourself, but also Paco Valcarcel of the WBO, insisting that the mandatories would have to be satisfied before any AJ Fury undisputed fight. Is that the WBC's position still, that the mandatory must be observed before that fight?
Well, our position is, and it has been clear since I have been very open since the interviews in lockdown, and I could have avoided that question. I have been absolutely firm that the WBC had a third fight between Fury and Wilder as a schedule, and then that Dillian Whyte is a mandatory, and we have the date of February 21. So that has been the case. It will not change. The dates could change regardless of, regarding because of the coronavirus. But that is the WBC's line that we have to follow. A third fight and then the mandatory defense.
In the interview, Eddie Hearn said that he and Dillian Whyte didn't want Tyson Fury to be elevated to franchise champion, and they suspected that may be the case. Have there been any conversations around Tyson Fury becoming franchise champion?
Well, I think I will have to read Eddie Hearn's book that is coming out. He seems to have a lot of histories and stories and information. No, we have not had any conversations, any petitions whatsoever with that regard.
I also asked Eddie, and this is something that we spoke about back end of last year, August, September last year, with regards to the franchise status. If Tyson Fury was elevated to franchise champion, would a fight between himself and Anthony Joshua therefore still be an undisputed title fight?
Of course. I'm not entertaining any situation regarding Fury and franchise, because that has not been set forth. And I would ask Eddie which hat he's wearing, Joshua or Whyte, when he talks all these things. I would say, and I reaffirm, we have Canelo Alvarez and Lomachenko, the two franchise designations, and they represent the WBC on every single fight they engage. And of course, that's unification. Absolutely. If they fight a champion of another organization, it's considered a unification.
You make a good point there.
That is the whole purpose of the franchise, to allow the great fights to take place. When you elevate a fighter to franchise, that is for very few cases, as it is Canelo and Lomachenko. So I prefer not to entertain the heavyweight situation regarding this topic at this time.
Okay, fair enough. Final question, just on something that you just mentioned there, so I think it's a good time to probably touch upon that. You mentioned Eddie Hearn with an AJ hat and a Dillian Whyte hat. Do you think that that's been an issue with getting this over the line, having kind of the promoter being so involved with two fighters around that kind of level?
Well, he's very successful. He's doing a great job. He's a great promoter. He has brought British boxing to a level that it has been deserved for many, many years. British boxing was born in Britain, and it's a national sport, and the reality is that today the sport is booming in all ways, as it should have been for many years. I believe that Eddie is responsible for great part of the success of this great British boxing program right now. He's got many fighters, he's got television deals, and he's got a great success. So I'm proud of Eddie. I think he's a successful promoter, a driving force of the sport, and he has to deal with cases where he has fighters in the same weight category, fighters in the grade level. So it's a difficult situation for him to be handling those situations.
Kind of leads me in nicely to my final question, really. I spoke to Eddie, and Eddie said to me that in his opinion, boxing, and this is not a lone opinion or a sole opinion from Eddie, it's something that we do hear across the sport quite a lot, is he believes that there needs to be one entity in boxing. There needs to be one overseeing body who oversees, forgive me, governing bodies such as the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, the IBF, etc., all under one umbrella. I believe that the term was one entity. What's your comment on that?
I would have to talk to him and understand what he's trying to say. The WBC is a example of a world organization, 166 countries in the world. We are the moving organization with constant changes and improvements of the sport. I don't know what he would try to say, but it would be better to have a conversation and discussion back and forth, because otherwise it could be misleading. I could be understanding something different from what he is saying. I would like to talk to him about it, and I'll be happy to do so and open up a nice discussion.
Well, hopefully so. And if you need to, Mauricio, just have a look at the interview. We'll see what he said. I'll send you the link, and then maybe I can get you and Eddie to have a discussion on Boxing Social.
I'll be happy to do so.
Okay, great. Mauricio, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for catching up with me and Boxing Social. Do appreciate that you are limited on things that you can and can't say, but appreciate your time nonetheless. Always a pleasure catching up with you, Mauricio Sulaiman. Thanks very much.
Same to you. Have a great weekend, my friend. Take care.
Thanks, Mauricio.